Woodman here. It is Sunday, June 2nd, 2024. I want to talk about the notion that consciousness affects reality, particularly in the context of quantum mechanics and the double slit experiment, which is a profound and contentious topic, but one worthy of discussion. The double slit experiment demonstrates that particles such as electrons display wave like behavior when not observed, but act as particles when observed. This phenomenon is related to the concept of the wave function collapse, where the act of measurement seems to affect the state of the particle. The implications of this experiment have led to various interpretations about the role of consciousness in shaping reality. Here, we will definitely explore this concept in further detail. Firstly, the double slit experiment shows that when particles pass through two slits without having been observed, they create an interference pattern which seems indicative of the evidence of wave behavior. However, when the particles are observed, they instead create a pattern characteristic of particles, suggesting that the act of observation would somehow affect their state. This raises the question of whether consciousness through observation plays a larger role in determining the state of the particles and ultimately the universe at large. One interpretation is the Copenhagen interpretation, which puts forth the idea that particles exist in a superposition of states until observed, at which point the wave function collapses into one definite state. If you liken this to Schrodinger's cat, this is where you have the cat alive and dead at the same time, right? This interpretation does not explicitly require consciousness for the collapse of the wave function, but rather any measurement or interaction with the environment will trigger a change. However, some interpretations extend this to imply that human consciousness is just uniquely responsible for the collapse. And if that's the case, that's pretty revolutionary as an idea. Contrarily, the many worlds interpretation offers the different perspective on this, which is that because of the fact that all of these different states can exist as possibilities, that all possible outcomes of quantum measurements are realized in separate branching universes. In this view, the act of observation does not collapse the wave function, but rather splits reality into different branches, each corresponding to a different outcome. This interpretation minimizes the role of consciousness in shaping a single reality because, quite frankly, every single reality is going to take on whatever possibility was there and is not directly forced into a possibility by consciousness. The role of consciousness is further complicated by interpretations such as von Neumann-Wigner, which made their interpretation that directly puts forth the idea that consciousness is necessary for wave function collapse. According to this view, the mind is the ultimate measuring device that brings potential realities into existence. This interpretation has been criticized for being too speculative and not having sufficient empirical support at this time. Roger Penrose also has a few ideas on this, and I suggest you Google him and look at the videos that pop up to get his direct explanations of what he thinks is going on. So there are those who would seek to explain the wave function collapse without the involvement of consciousness. We have decoherence, which in the environment causes these quantum systems to lose their coherent superposition states, effectively resulting in classical outcomes. This process would occur naturally and would not require conscious observation, suggesting that reality is shaped by physical processes rather than consciousness. In other words, I guess the tree really does fall in the forest even if there's no one there to hear it. Additionally, experimental evidence and advances in quantum mechanics continue to challenge and refine a lot of these interpretations. While some experiments have suggested that the presence of an observer can affect the outcome, others have shown that decoherence and environmental interactions may play a much more significant role. These findings suggest that the relationship between consciousness and reality is far, far more complex than initially thought. At the end of the day, this is something that's just not been resolved in the scientific community, but it is something that is being seriously looked at because there are issues with the fact that when we consciously measure and observe things, things change. The philosophical implications of this really are great to examine, but scientists prefer empirical science, obviously. And so the idea that consciousness shapes reality, while it may stem from philosophical implications, there isn't enough direct scientific evidence at this time to support it. Quantum mechanics is a theory which operates independently of whether consciousness is involved or not when the wave function actually goes to collapse. The implications of our understanding of reality and consciousness are still quite limited, and still there's so many questions that are left unanswered. Um, this would extend beyond physics into the realm of metaphysics and philosophy, as well as even spirituality. The debate touches on fundamental questions about the nature of our universe, our existence, our mind, and the world at large, right? The double slit experiment and quantum mechanics do provide a rich ground for these kinds of discussions, which are not conclusively resolved at this point, but nonetheless, there is a distinct possibility that consciousness absolutely shapes reality. And if you're a spiritualist, you probably already know this and believe this. Um, in conclusion, when we're talking about the role of observation and potentially consciousness in quantum mechanics, the evidence may not directly support the idea that consciousness shapes everything, but we got some strong indicators for it, and logically it kind of makes sense. But there are others who have different explanations, and in the absence of empirical proof proving one theory or another in this particular area, unfortunately, we are left to just speculate. But nonetheless, if you ask me, I do think consciousness affects reality. That's my position, but I'm not a scientist, and obviously you can't take my word as gospel. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. I always appreciate your support of this channel. I love you. I love you. I love you. Have a wonderful and great June 2nd, 2024.